What's up guys, it's Punchy, and today we're back with yet another Deepwoken patch with a bunch to explore and mess around with. This time around, it's not too crazy, well I guess compared to last week when the secret Chainwarden Oath dropped, and I don't know, that was pretty insane. But there are a ton of changes to talk about. As always, please try out the new content for yourself in-game, and let's get right into it. Following the release of Chainwarden last week, the day after its drop, we actually received 2 special talents to spice things up. A lot of players felt like the Oath was lacking talents and missing things, and the devs actually listened to your complaints. If you want, I do discuss all of this in another video, but I'll briefly break it down. Anyway, in game, let's investigate the first talent, Perpetual Wrath. Building on top of Chainwarden's existing pressure, landing multiple restrained kicks on the same target slowly but surely increases your damage with the mantra. As you can see, after a few landed kicks, the damage is much higher than before and has a special sound. Repeated use of this mantra is incentivized, and it's cool to receive the payoff. Moving on to Chainlash. After a successful flourish with Chainwarden, we place a chain on our target, pull them in automatically, and at this point we're granted a choice. By pressing M1 right after this, an auto follow-up attack will send them away and set up combos from range. Or, if you want, you can wait and do your own combo right after. Anyway, that brings an end to the recently added Chainwarden tools, but now it's way more fun to play with. With a pretty interesting change to overall slot organization, we have some big changes to the visual for the selection screen. Last week, Deepwoken allowed players to earn free character slots through achievements alone while expanding the overall amount of options that we had, and this week it looks a lot different. In-game, if we head on past the start screen and move into the character selection, you should see a larger, more horizontal layout. Instead of having a scroll list which provided a more vertical column, in this update we can basically see all of our slots from just a horizontal view. It's definitely a smaller change, but this probably will be extremely helpful when more character slots come to Deepwoken, so it's nice and I like what they're doing. Finally, moving in-game with a crazy new mantra, we have a strength ability named Table Flip. Straight out of One Punch Man or Hunter x Hunter, we have the ability to rip tiles of flooring right out of the ground and at our opponent. Slamming into players from close range and from a distance with a projectile, this thing stuns and hits pretty far, but make sure you're on the ground when you use this ability or otherwise it just won't work, which makes a lot of sense. Building on top of Deepwoken's world, it's time for the introduction of faction missions. So for a while now, it was possible to complete events for specific factions and do stuff to gain loot and increase reputation, but it just was not reliable. Now, in this current update, it's much easier to spawn these events and progress as well due to specific faction boards. Found around each group's base of operation, we'll be able to find bounty boards with special events that help increase standing with that group. After accepting their quest, an objective marker will activate and tell you where to go. So there's a few new events here and there, but overall progression is going to be way more reliable, and each faction finally has a great way to improve rep. Dropping today, we have a new armor set alongside a new armor relic. First off, with the Grand Fisher set, we have a pretty insane new adaptation of a contest winner's design, and in-game, it looks super cool. This is a giant set of Depths Diver armor that looks absolutely legendary and works very well with the Depths theme of exploration. Alongside this, the helmet and the arm piece have 1 talent each to check out. First off, with the Cold Seep Reactor, it's essentially the same thing as having a portable lantern, and you're no longer affected by Layer 2 parasites while wearing this helmet. And next, with the Diver's Resilience, you're able to parry the unparryable attacks from monsters similar to another set of armor, but with this equipped, you're a little bit slower. Honestly, I love how this looks and it matches very well together. Moving on to the relic, we have the Forge Needle. This option is very straightforward and extremely powerful. To craft this relic, you can either use 5 Smith's alloys or 1 Armorer's Needle together, or 1 Gilded Needle and 1 Smith's alloy. Anyway, very simply, this needle increases the star rarity of a chosen equipment piece, making it better overall. This is really cool and worth crafting. Starting off some balancing, there's a few things to look at that have a large effect on overall gameplay. With a substantial nerf to a giant AoE attack, we first start off with a hit to Emotion Wave. This mantra slams the floor and sends out shocking bolts of lightning, but in ganks it was absolutely ridiculous. So to help fix this issue, it's been nerfed further, pushing its cooldown from 22 seconds to 30. Less spam of this mantra should be a positive thing, but I guess we'll see. Next up, with a nerf to an instantaneous mantra, Crystal Impale got a wind-up adjustment, and this is kinda crazy. Normally, this mantra isn't really a big deal, and it's not hard to avoid, but off uppercuts, now that's when it's scary. This mantra had a near instantaneous slam down that confirmed true combos, which it still does by the way, but now it's a bit harder to land. Nerfing this mantra just a bit, Crystal Impale windup has been changed from 0.4 seconds to 0.5. Moving forward onto something that I didn't even know about, we got a crazy nerf to the Soulthorn's range. For some reason, this thing had 8.5 range as a legendary weapon, which is insane, but now it's been cut down to 8 respectively. This range in question is still pretty ridiculous, but it's much better than before. Finally, with a huge nerf to the cheesiest weapon of all Deepwoken history, it's time for the Hive Lord HUBRIS change. This thing was extremely powerful with hard to read animations and super slow swing speed alongside insane damage, but now its base damage output has been hit. Slamming the HUBRIS heavily, its base damage has been reduced from 30 to 28. Also, besides this, the Hive Lord's HUBRIS weight or posture damage has decreased from 10 to 9, and we'll see what happens from here. Honestly, this is giant for weapon scaling and might force HUBRIS users to play a bit differently. And with that, that's all for the week. As the wait for Conquest still continues, check out Battle Royale for all the new content and get some dubs with your friends. Last week, it was actually kinda crazy, but people found the new oath inside of Battle Royale before it even dropped. Anyway, for even more exclusive content just like this, make sure to like and subscribe. We're super close to 90k subs, and let's get there. Thanks again, it's punchin' time.